So our first storyteller, her work has been featured in The New Yorker, The New York Times, and Reductress, and I'm so excited to have her back. Please give a warm welcome to Jiji Lee.
My husband's family is more charming and American than Norman Rockwell. They live in this adorable neighborhood in Maryland with white picket fences, and they have like American flags draped over the white picket fences. Yes, they are white people, in case you didn't know. And even their dining table looks like it's something out of Nick at Night. They have like perfect like place settings and these perfectly folded cloth napkins. And meanwhile, I'm this Korean girl from Miami. My family did not have place settings. We would just sit wherever was closest to the TV. And instead of using folded cloth napkins at the dinner table, we would use a roll of toilet paper. It was just more economical. So early on in our relationship, my husband invites me down to Maryland to stay with his family for the 4th of July weekend. And his family's gonna do a big brunch, and then later they go out into the porch and watch the neighborhood parade, which consists of kids riding by on their bikes and red wagons. And I was like, this is like a parody of America, and I am so excited, I'm all for it. But then my husband tells me what's on the weekend itinerary: kayaking and Maryland crabs. This is my worst nightmare. My family, we didn't do stuff like this growing up. Like on the 4th of July, we would watch Korean soap operas, probably eat Spam, and avoid talking to each other. So it was like any other day. So now I had to like prepare myself, and I was determined to be like the all-American girlfriend who was not only going to be active, but like well-coordinated. I should mention that like my biggest weakness is my lack of basic motor skills. My mom said that when I was a baby, I never figured out how to crawl. I would just kind of like scoop myself on my butt. And apparently that's a sign of a cognitive deficit. But I turned out great. I just can't use my hands and eyes together for anything. So I start like preparing, like I'm training, like I'm Rocky, and I watch all of these YouTube tutorials on how to kayak. I like practice with a broom, and I'm like doing all the movements, because every single video that I watched, they were like, you must have proper technique or you will get blisters. And I was like, okay, no blisters. Blisters are un-American. And then I watched all of these videos on how to eat a Maryland crab, because I heard that grown men will actually cry trying to open a Maryland crab, and they're very intricate. So I like study these crabs like a surgeon. Like, okay, you open the shell here, and then you pull out the legs here, and then you like don't eat the green yucky stuff, because it's not very intuitive. Because I just didn't want his family to look at me struggle with the crab and think, she must come from a home that did not use cloth napkins. And meanwhile, my husband, the entire time, he's like, just relax, like, just be yourself. And like, yes, I'm gonna be myself, but like a version of myself that like came out of a Ralph Lauren ad and just eats crabs all day. And I guess like the reason behind all of this is that before I met my husband, I dated this other guy named Jim. And Jim invited me to his hometown in Pennsylvania one weekend because his friend Mitch was having a barbecue. And I'm at this barbecue, everyone's having a great time, and Mitch, who's the host, turns to me and asks, Jiji, you're Korean. What do Korean computers look like? And I was like regular computers? Most of them are made in Korea anyway. And then he keeps going, and he's like, what's up with Korean last names? You guys only have 2 last names, like Lee and Kim. And by this point, everyone has stopped eating, and they're now staring at me, the only person of color at this entire party. And they're just laughing. And I try to like think of something like witty to say, and I'm like, that's not right. We also have Park. And of course they laugh, but they're laughing at me. And then Mitch's dad is there, and this guy is a doctor, a man of science. And he turns to me and he says, how do you even spell Korean names into English? And I'm like, how are you allowed to deliver babies? Like, I think it's called translation. And they're just all like laughing and thinking this is like the funniest thing in the world. And meanwhile, like my face is burning and I'm about to cry. So instead I just force myself to eat like 5 burgers so I won't cry in front of all these people. And then on the car ride home, I like break down and I tell Jim, like, your friends made me feel really uncomfortable. And he says, how dare you suggest that my friends are racist? They were just trying to be funny. And in my head, I'm like, I wasn't suggesting that they were racist. I'm saying that they are racist. And also, if they're trying to be funny, well, I guess I was the punchline. And so he got even angrier, and he was like, you were being so shy, and they were just trying to like get to know you and get you out of your shell. Okay, when people try to get to know other people, usually they ask like, what movies do you like? Like, where do you work? They don't ask, do you prefer duck sauce or soy sauce? Like this guy's wife asked. And so I quickly break up with Jim. And like I think he could not fathom that like just because you watch The Daily Show and you vote for Joe Biden that like you can't be racist, and it's like, sorry, you're not immune from this. But fortunately my husband is not like that. He knows better, and if I do like talk to him about this stuff, he doesn't get all defensive and fragile. And his parents, when they don't know something, they just use Google. So I try to relax. But when you have these experiences all the time, you're just like, you come prepared. But I'm still excited for the 4th of July weekend and this parade. So we're in Maryland and we go to the Chesapeake Bay and we go kayaking. And it turns out the Chesapeake Bay is like as still as a bathtub. So I do not drown. Unfortunately, my husband gets all of the blisters kayaking. So should have watched the videos. And then we go out for Maryland crabs and I'm like, eating them like a pro, and it turns out when it comes to food, I'm kind of a natural at eating it. So now it's the last day of the weekend, and we're getting ready for the brunch, and Patrick's mom comes up to me and she says, do you know how to fold cloth napkins? And I say what I always say when I don't know how to do something. Oh my God, yes, I'm so excited about this. I'm gonna fold so many napkins for you. I bolt to the bathroom and I start Googling like how to fold cloth napkins. And this is back when I had a BlackBerry, like no data, so there's nothing's loading. It's just like an ad for State Farm insurance. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, they want something like from an Edith Wharton novel, like a swan or a seashell. And I'm like, okay, Jiji, you can do this. You went to college. So I emerge from the bathroom and I go to the table and I'm like folding napkins and I'm throwing utensils in and utensils are falling out. And I'm just like trying to force them into submission. And I'm just like taking out all of my like frustrations onto this poor cloth napkin. And finally I look and they look less like a seashell and more like I'm trying to conceal a murder weapon. And then Patrick's mother comes over and she's like, you know what, we decided just to do paper napkins. It's so much easier. So I'm like, thank God, thank you. So then we go onto the porch and we watch the kids ride by on their bikes and their wagons. And now I've been married to my husband for almost 5 years now. And his family has been nothing but kind and generous to me. And I feel like their daughter. And as for the guys at the barbecue, I still think about that day a lot, obviously. And my one regret is that I never got my final comeback or confrontation with those guys because life doesn't always have a happy ending like Nick at Night. But hopefully I think like, maybe one day they'll see one of my stories, and if they happen to catch this one, no hard feelings. I was just trying to make a joke. Thank you.
Yum's the word.